Hey guys, welcome to the workshop. In today's video, I'm going to make a butcher block kitchen countertop, so stick around. So I first went to Lowe's and bought some 2x10 lumber. That way when I would cut these down later, I would end up with something that was roughly about 8.5 to 9 inches. And I had pre-measured every length and every dimension. I needed 3 solid butcher blocks, and so I ended up cutting them just a little bit longer than each one, just so I had enough. If I needed to trim a little bit off the ends, I would have some extra. Now once all these were cut, it was time to start cutting the roundovers off. If you don't already know, when you buy lumber from most hardware stores, there is a roundover on every corner, and that's to prevent chipping while it's being moved around. And in my case, I do not want those, so I had to scrap about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of it. And I did that on both sides on every single board. And after running it through the table saw, then I wanted to skip plane it with my planer just to make one smooth side. Wasn't highly concerned about the other side, so I just kept doing the same side over and over just to get most of the saw marks off. Now like I said, I had 3 of these to do, so I'm really going to just show you how I put together one of them, and then you'll know how I did the rest. Now some of these boards had a little bit of a bow in it, so I had to hand plane those so that by the time I would put them all together, there was no gap between any of the boards. And this took a good bit of time. So then I had a little dilemma. I did not have enough clamps to clamp this whole thing together. The width of this thing is about 25 inches, and I only had 24-inch bar clamps, and they only opened to 22 inches. So I had this idea of gluing the first 2 together, clamping them together, and then standing it upright and screwing these boards to the back of each board. And that would in turn give me the ability to have that clamping it together. And then by the time I added the 3rd board, I could use the 2 clamps that I had to glue these together. So now that all the glue is dried on all of the different boards that I put together, it was time to knock all of the really high glue squeeze outs off. Then I went over it with a low surface plane to get rid of some more of the glue. And then I went across it at an angle with my number 7 hand plane to smooth it out, because there was a little bit of a cup that happened, and when I did this, it also gave it a really neat effect. And then the most fun part of every job is the sanding, and this took a long time because I had 3 different ones to do. Now after I sanded it, before I was applying my stain, I still wanted to put pre-stain conditioner on this just to level out some of the high and low spots when I would do the stain. If you're enjoying this video so far, please consider subscribing to this channel, because on this channel I do a lot of things just like this. Everything that I do is DIY. I also do a lot of projects, and then I do a lot of tip videos. So if anything like that interests you, please hit the subscribe button and make sure to click the little bell icon to be notified of every future video that I put out. Now after rubbing off the excess pre-stain conditioner that didn't soak into the wood, then I went ahead and used my new Rust-Oleum stain. And if you watched one of my videos previously, I tested this against the Minwax, and this was my favorite. So if you're interested in that video, you can click the little card up at the top right corner and watch that video. So now it was on to the demo. Now I didn't record a bunch of the demo because this video, it was not about remodeling the kitchen. This was about the butcher block. So just going to show you a little bit of what I ended up doing. I had to remove my stove. I had to remove the old sink. We were not going to reuse the old sink. We ended up going with a 8-inch depth farmhouse sink that we purchased, and really like it a lot. But we reused the same stove that we had before. So I just began by laying these all out just to see how everything fit, see if I needed to trim anything, and I did end up making one a lot longer than it should have been. In fact, about a whole foot longer, so I'm not sure how that happened, but at least it wasn't shorter. So then I just stuck a ruler underneath, and once I would touch the sink, I would make a line, and that would be giving me the mark where I would then take this outside and cut it. Now I ended up lining my line with painter's tape, and that is a little trick that you may want to do just to avoid any splintering that could potentially happen on the top side of the countertop. So I ended up having to do this for both sides of the sink. Also ended up doing it for a piece of wood that was behind the sink. And then this is a part that went right in front of the stove. Ended up having to piece together a couple other pieces to make this all work out. And here we have it. All the countertop is installed. It's all screwed in from below. So all of that is nice and secure now. So then I used the Minwax Polycrylic on this, and when this whole project was done, I ended up with about 8 coats of this on there. I really like the water base. I just think it gives it a better look. It doesn't yellow or tint any of the stain. It looks just as good as it did when you applied it. But in between every coat, I did a little bit of a light sanding and then applied more. And this thing would dry in about 2 hours. So I was able to get a lot of coats on in a short amount of time.
What are you doing, Olivia? Let's talk about something. So which one do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about?
to fill up all of the wood knots and some of the defects in the wood. I wanted to maintain the look of it, so I ended up filling it with Moz epoxy resin. And if this is a product that you really like, you can get this and a link down in the description of this video. That will take you to the website to be able to buy this stuff. And after letting that dry and cure overnight, I ended up putting probably several more coats of polyacrylic on there. So like I said, about 8 coats when it was all said and done. Put the faucet in, put the stove in, and then my wife did her thing, and the kitchen looks spectacular. Very happy with how this turned out, and I know my wife is too as well. Okay guys, so I hope that you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and to consider subscribing if you already haven't hit that button. Now, all of the products that I used in this video are going to be linked in the description of this video. So if there's something that you don't know where to buy it, or you're going to do this and you just want to quickly buy the stuff, you can follow all those links, add them to your carts, buy the stuff, and get it sent right to your house. So guys, thank you for watching this video. Please tune in for the next one. And as I always say, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time right here in the workshop.